So this is the last of the 18A3W files. There's 5 of them altogether, okay? So part 138. So if you're going to look at this section about the UFO 5G, you need to look at all of these videos because each of them has formulas in them. So this is line 18A3W5. Nanoscale excited neutrinos, metal ions, sputtering UFO 5G Wow Seti. And there's the alien signal. And let's pop down here. February 17th, 2012, my thoughts. Google excited state. This keyword has come up several times, so I wanted to see what the exact meaning of it was and how it works. So what I did was Google nucleotide neutrinos. I've had the same graph come up before and must mean something. It was based on the connect the dots, connect the ones in the original Wow Seti alien message I sent December 2011. And this is linked to antimatter, which in turn is linked to anti-gravity in the lines of data. So this symbol has come up a couple times, and what it is, I finally found out what it meant. It's an atomic resolution structural model from X-ray crystallography of one of the proteins from the study, the phycosacinin PC645, isolated from the cephtalite. There you go. I can't say it. I'm having trouble talking today. Electronic interactions among the light harvesting molecules within the protein scaffold cause light to be captured and manipulated in quantum coherent states. And I still don't know what that means. So anyways, so this is a graph of excited states. It shows ground state, the energy going up to excited states, which means it's a higher level of energy. And those are the different states of energy that you can get. After absorbing energy, an electron may jump from the ground state to a higher energy excited state. So think of a basketball. Once you throw it down, it hits the ground, it bounces back up. Okay, I don't know what this is, but it was interesting looking. So I grabbed it. It's all sorts of some things. Maybe you guys know what this is. So this is the synthesis of IMP. The color scheme is as follows. Enzymes, coenzymes, substrate names, metal ions, and inorganic modules. That's on our nucleotide. Oh, okay, that's what a nucleotide looks like. I wanted to know what a nucleotide was, so I looked it up. So I see the word metal ions, and I Google it and find the word niobium. The temperature stability of niobium containing superalloys is important for its use in jet and rocket engines. Niobium is used in various superconducting materials. So now we know what it means. So when I did some Googling for metal ions, this invention came up. And this is very important. You're going to want to put this in with your UFO engine because it's pretty cool what it can do. This is a supercharged metal ion generator. It's a higher quality coatings through runaway self-sputtering. It was published in January 2009. You want to contact Paul Proust. And there's his phone number and his email. Okay. So this is what he's been doing at the Berkeley's lab system for self-sputtering far above the runaway threshold. Neutral excited copper atoms in the plasma glow green, while near the magneton target, a plentiful supply of ions glows white. Quite the cool experiment there. So I looked it up to see what these guys have created. So Berkeley lab scientists have developed a powerful new kind of sputter process for the electronics industry and other more exotic applications. So I think of exotic applications, I think of stuff out in space. There's things that they don't normally use it for, including outer space. There we go. Which deposits high-quality metal films in complex three-dimensional nanoscale patterns at a rate that by one important measure in orders of magnitude greater than most existing systems. Conventional DC direct current sputtering accelerates ions in a plasma. Now remember, we want to accelerate a plasma with neutrinos in it, so I was thinking we could use this device to do that. typically a noble gas like argon. I thought that was quite comical. I started laughing when I read that. It's like, oh my god, I put liquid argon plus neutrinos. I didn't even know it could work together. I mean, that's just what came to my mind. And then we find out that, according to this, that, you know, they use those kinds of things. So, to erode atoms from the target, the magnetron design concentrates free electrons near the target in a strong magnetic field, increasing the collision rate between atoms and electrons to create more positive ions that can be accelerated toward the target. So the key here was that they wanted to accelerate it, and that's what we want to do with the neutrino particles. So HIPIMS, invented in the late 1990s, improves this process further by encouraging self-sputtering, in which some of the metal atoms sputtered off the target are themselves ionized and returned to the target to knock off still some more atoms. So what I'm thinking is, once they create a collision, they recollide again, which means they could resplit whatever particle, which would generate more energy. The great advantage of HIPIMS is to increase the ratio of metal ions to neutral atoms, reaching the substrate, which makes great for improvements in coating quality. Even in HIPIMS, however, the discharge current in the current that powers the sputter gun is typically more than 10 times greater than the current of positive ions that actually reaches the substrate. But with their new approach, says Anders, under certain conditions, the ion current can greatly exceed the discharge current. While this sounds counterintuitive, he says, we don't break any laws of nature, we just shake up a few assumptions. The trick is to send short, very high-powered pulses through the magnetron at a low repetition rate. We came across a laser beam gun in an earlier video, which will be able to do this. Okay? When the voltage is high enough, the ion current does not fall off as the gas is depleted, but instead, sustained by self-sputtered metal ions, jumps to a new, much higher level. Self-sputtering continues as long as the power supply can deliver a high-voltage discharge current. The result, energetic electrons are propelled far from the target and produce a dense plasma of metal ions even in a vacuum. When the plasma is target metal rather than gas, a higher proportion of metal ions reaches the substrate, ensuring that the substrate is coated with a uniform voidless film with improved properties such as the ability to penetrate into narrow, nanoscale cavities and intricate semiconductor circuits. And I found that at the newscenter.ibl.gov. News releases. February 17, 2012, my thoughts. You would use this generator with the cold plasma neutrinos plus argon gas formula stated earlier. Quote, conventional DC direct current sputtering accelerates ions in a plasma, typically a noble gas like argon, to erode atoms from the target. The magnetron design concentrates free electrons near the target in a strong magnetic field, increasing the collision rate between atoms and electrons to create more positive ions that can be accelerated toward the target. My thoughts continued. Taking the neutrinos and dividing them up 5 times in order to reach a level of 20 quark splits with the aid of lepton, use this method to achieve that goal. Quote, HIPIMS, invented in the late 1990s, improves this process further by encouraging self-sputtering, in which some of the metal atoms sputtered off the target are themselves ionized and return to the target to knock off some more atoms. So they bounce off the target, then they're attracted back to the target, so it's like a boomerang effect, and then they knock off even more atoms. Interesting. My thoughts continued. Here you use the laser beam device found in an earlier line of data. Quote, the trick is to send short, very high power pulses through the magnetron at a low repetition rate. When the voltage is high enough, the ion current does not fall off as the gas is depleted, but instead, sustained by self-sputtered metal ions, jumps to a new, much higher level. Self-sputtering continues as long as the power supply can deliver a high voltage discharge current. So if you're looking for a high voltage discharge current, we're going to want to create a laser beam that A is recyclable energy, so that it doesn't need electricity to run, it just runs off its own thing, and it can recharge itself and rejuvenate itself and be reused over and over again. Like a recycling of energy. It's just an idea. I'll look for it. We'll find it. Okay, so this is another graph here showing nucleotides, what they look like. Okay, so I Google neutrino nucleotides and February 17, 2012, my thoughts. I wasn't sure if you could put these two together. I'm surprised at what I find. The words antimatter and the fact that these two have similar qualities. And I believe antimatter is the same as anti-gravity, and that is one of the things that they're trying to figure out, how to create an anti-gravity state for a UFO-like engine, so that the force of gravity doesn't slow it down. So this is data to read. Okay, so when I Googled it, I got antimatter quasi-science apparel. What is a neutrino? What are tectonics? What are nucleotides? Neutrinos are similar to the more familiar electron with one crucial difference. Okay, so that link will go up. All this will go up on the blog, so you can click on the links and see what they say. Again, when I look at links like this, I look at the highlighted words and I look at keywords that are in the paragraphs, and if it's a keyword that has anything to do with what I'm working on, I pull it and I create it as data. Okay? So this is the Sudbury Neutrino Observatory. Of course, we've already seen them before. They were doing the that ice cube testing thing. And we have the nanoparticle. It's a single nucleotide polymorphism and a space nuclear propulsion. So as soon as I saw space nuclear propulsion, I knew that something to do with mixing these two together, we would get some sort of propulsion. And then I've got General Chemistry Online with antoine.frostberg.edu. It says neutrino, an elementary particle produced by certain nuclear decay processes. Neutrinos have nitrogen-containing base that is a constituent of nucleotides. So there is a tie-in between these two. They both have a base of nitrogen. But I still haven't figured out why that's important. So here's a picture of a test with neutrinos at CERN, or the other collider. I'm not sure which one it is. Very pretty though, very, very colorful. So February 17, 2012, 9:24 p.m. My thoughts. Apparently someone else has the same idea, and I like that. I pulled out keywords in the article. I found a blog post that says, quote, "Will the neutrino enable time travel?" Remember I was talking about, well, actually I have been talking about the neutrinos being used for time travel, so it was cool to see. This guy's a physicist. He's in the science, he's got a science degree and everything. He's also talking about it, but I believe this was from 2011 he wrote this, or earlier, I'm not sure. So it's equipment used to measure speeds such as light, 186,282 miles per second. Another key element that he said was, in all seriousness, if the speed of a neutrino is in fact faster than a photon, we are at the dawn of an entire new science. And you can read his blog at archimedesclaw.authorsexpress.com. Time travel in the neutrino. Quote, a nitrogenous nitrogen-containing base. I wanted to know what that was. So it's a nitrogen-containing molecule. Having the chemical properties of a base, it is an organic compound that owes its property as a base to the lone pair of electrons of a nitrogen atom. Okay, and quote, so we brought up another quote here. This is probable mechanisms of neutrino-driven nuclear reactions. I wanted to see if neutrinos could be used in a reactors, because we use a form of reactors to deal with the liquid hydrogen and the gases that they use to get up into outer space. So the guessed abnormal the guess abnormally fast nuclear reactions activated by neutrino is caused by noted N-N-N interaction. With an electron shell of an atom, let's remind that both electron and neutrino have a high half-integer spin that should result in coupling of an alone electron of free atom of, say, hydrogen and deuterium. You see the words coming up? We got hydrogen, deuterium. We're talking about the neutrino, the electron, and then this NNN thing, right? So I pulled it. It was very important. When all those keywords come up, I know it's got something to do with what we're looking at. So, or in substitution of one of electrons in an electronic couple, if the atom H or D forms chemical or hydrogen bond with an atom of the same or different nuclide. Here's a graph for you to look at. Okay, it's a figure pattern of electron orbits of hydrogen. Here, E, energy, X, spatial coordinate. 1 is atomic orbits. 2 and 3 are molecular ones. So this is 1, 2, and 3. These are molecular ones. 1 to 3 are normal. I don't understand this. And then under neutrino absorption is 1 star 1 and star 3. I don't know if that's this one and this one or which one. Yeah, star 1, star 3. So the outer edges obviously are neutrino absorption. Okay. So here 1, 2, 3 stand for the levels of energy of an atomic orbital of HD atom, bonding molecular orbital of H2D2 molecule, and breaking molecular orbital of H2D2 molecule correspondingly. In the case of neutrino absorption by H and D, blah blah blah. There you go. Molecule, the former can form a pair with the electrons situated on a bonding orbital, 1 or 2, correspondingly displacing another electron of electron pair to a breaking orbital 3. If you know what this means, good. I don't know what it means. So the energies of electron neutrino orbitals not necessarily coincide the energies of electron, atomic, and molecular. Okay, so they're comparing the two types of particles. That can cause a variation of chemical bond length between atoms in a molecule, or a distance between a nucleus and electron in an atom is related to an equilibrium value. The case of the distance diminution can result in the dramatic diminution of an electron orbit radius and in considerable screening of hydrogen atom nucleus charge. As a requirement of cold fusion, we do need to use cold fusion with this, and transmutation of nuclear implementation. So it's talking about cold fusion, talking about extreme cases as the Berer-Viger atom that comes up, and then he's got some calculations here. The hydrino molecule, isotopes, stable neutron for deuterium atom. The hypothetical channels of the subsequent nuclear transmutations were proven experimentally by observation of the relevant nuclear products. And he gives another equation there for his work. And he goes on, shows some more equations showing how he arrived at his results. So anyways, you want to contact Dr. Vyanemin Filomonov by phone. There's his phone number, and there's his email address. Okay, so if you want to talk to him about his paper there, give him a call or write him a note. So nuclear fusion, condensed matter, nuclear science, neutrino-driven nuclear reactions. I found this to be quite interesting. I was trying to see if a neutrino could be processed within a nuclear reactor, and that's what I was looking for. And I found it. So this is a neutrino-driven nuclear reactions of cold fusion and transmutation. And it's written by Benjamin Filimov, and he's at the Belarus State University. Okay, so he's suggesting a hypothesis. So basically, this is a thought for him. of neutrino-driven nuclear reactions for explication of abnormally fast nuclear reactions surveyed above and conformities to natural laws observed under the noted reaction proceedings. The not high energy neutrino NNN is abundant in nature, which is a solid fact. The author suggests that correct interpretation of many authors' experimental data allow the conclusion that NNN is not an inert particle, but can be focused and concentrated and then captured by condensed matter, absorbed or desorbed in any physical, chemical, and biological process accompanied by the entropy change, reversible or irreversible ones, and perhaps generated artificially using appropriate devices. Suggested mechanism of the not high energy neutrino NNN interaction with matter is, first of all, an electron-neutrino couple and formation in atom that causes a series of secondary effects at nuclear, atomic, and molecular levels of matter. The hypothesis provides application to conformities to natural laws of radioactive and stable nuclides, transmutation rate variation by low energy non-nuclear actions on nuclei, and can be testified experimentally. So you want to use whatever he's developed. I honestly believe you can use it in the UFO engine thing. And he's written at www.cold-nuclear-fusion.com, neutrino. February 17th, 2012, my thoughts. It's interesting to come across actual scientists and bloggers who all feel the same way, that neutrinos are the future of time travel. They are writing papers about how it can work with mathematical equations in them. Just like me, only I'm video blogging my ideas for formulas based on linking keywords found in the Wow Seti lines of data. I am assuming they will work since they are linked together on here. The original message to all of this was connect the dots and connect the ones, meaning the number ones in the Wow Seti signal. In my mind, that means connect the keywords that come up together in a line of data. It's the same idea, only we're going to look outside of the box, of the norm, and come up with something entirely new. I guess that's why I'm calling it alien technology. It's from out of this world, literally. Remember, you cannot tell yourself it's impossible, based on all mathematical equations from the past. It's time to create new formulas, new math equations. It's time to take the speed of neutrinos and use it to power a UFO engine. If we can make the impossible possible in the 1900s, then we can do it again in 2012. Note to us all, be another Benjamin Franklin. Think outside the box. You take a key, add some string, plus lightning equals hydro. Hydro plus internet plus computer equals education and fun. And here are the tags to this video. Right there. Alrighty. Again, you want to look up the supercharged metal ion generator from Paul Proust. It's a Berkeley lab scientist. And the neutrino-driven nuclear reactions of cold fusion and transmutation from Venomin Filomenov at Belarus State University. And then, will the neutrinos enable time travel? By Theodore Morrison Homa, MD. He writes some very interesting theories on his blog, and he's quite knowledgeable in what he does. Okay, so that's the end of that video. I have one more to shoot. It's going on to the next letter.